Kudo be all. Greetings to all. We are His Imperial Majesty, Hosu Agelo Bagan Akbavi the First, the Ganlodo Hosu, Kilambo Hosu here in America. Our website is ganlodokingdom.com, GANLODO, kingdom.com. Our publications are found at restorationhealing.com. The name is actually Kilambo, Restoration and Healing, but the site is restorationhealing.com. And our contact is EKAABOKILOMBO at gmail.com. Ekabo Kilambo at gmail.com. During this period, and actually over this past weekend proper, was the commemoration of the Nawun Kuvo. Nawun Kuvo, in the Fon dialect of the Aja language, Southern Benin Republic, West Africa, is a conceptual term. It encompasses the advent of the fall of the African, and after that fall, the things that we went through all the way up until this year, which is 6260 in our calendar, 2019 for those that still follow a Gregorian European calendar. A little slight technical difficulty there. So in this video, we want to talk about, real briefly, we're honoring the spirits of those mighty ancestors that were taken against their will, put into captivity, so-called slavery, and their will to survive. And they're the reason that we're here, because they chose to survive instead of doing something else drastic, which would have ended much of the population of African people. We want to talk about rum and tobacco. Two of the main trading items for African bodies. But we want to talk about it from a in-touch perspective, not something just intellectual. Intellectually, we know that European records and African oral traditions still present in such places, currently called Benin Republic, Ghana, Togo, Nigeria, Cameroon, Congo, Katawakata. Intellectually, we know that two of the main trade items is documented on both sides, whether orally or written. Two of the main trade items was alcohol and tobacco. Tobacco seems to have entered West Africa around about the late 1600s, before the 1700s. Because that's around about the time it entered Europe. A little bit before. But we want to talk about this from the perspective of feeling the spirit of our ancestors, because we do a lot of talking. Our people like to really talk. You cannot out-talk African people, especially new Africans in America. The talk game, if that talk game matched the action, we would have, Ganlodo wouldn't be the only monarchy. We'd have several real monarchies, big palaces and whatnot, if talking game did it. But we are talking about this from a functional, spiritual perspective and mental perspective, which should make you want to not only pursue information more, but pursue your real culture. Imagine you being hunted down like your ancestors were, captured by some people who look just like you. That's one reason it was so easy. See, people don't put two and two together. That's one reason it was easier, rather, for these people to be put in captivity, because a lot of times these people were sneaking up on you. And because they like, who, If they saw the cracker, they already know that's an obvious physical apparition that says, that's not my people. Let's watch him. Let's watch him. But, a lot of people want to deny the existence of this reality that Africans sold other Africans. Anyway, imagine you being hunted down, captured, held in bondage for months, 3 months, in your home in West Africa. You being sold to some people that you already know are not really human beings. They don't even look human, not according to an African standard. So imagine that trauma. That's trauma number one. That's bad enough, And keep in mind, we're talking about Nawon Kuval. We're commemorating those ancestors and the ones that were, the Nawon Kuval is the fall of Africans. We're talking about the fall now because there had to be an internal rot, an internal degeneracy that came about for this to come about, and then that came about, and then Jim Crow and all of this stuff up until now. This is the Nawon Kuval, the persecution of Africans, mainly by all non-Africans right now, and their own self-hate. That's Nawon Kuval. So anyway, so you're sold to a tobacco plantation in North Carolina, or to one in Brazil or Haiti. Or you're sold to a sugarcane plantation in Louisiana, Brazil, and Haiti. Or you're sold to a cotton plantation in Alabama, or Charleston, or Texas. Okay? This is already messed up, because you've been ripped away from your family. You've probably seen some of your family get killed right in front of you. The ones that they couldn't control, that bucked, and they felt the only thing they could do was shoot them. They might have bled out later down the track, 30-mile track. You got to walk 30 miles to Ouida. Right? Ouida is in Benin, West Africa. The original name is Glehwe. So backing up to that, you can make it to Ouida, and you are put in these cells, so-called prison. We didn't have prisons, by the way, in West Africa. You put in these cells, and you don't know what's about to happen. You have no clue. You may have heard. Then again, some may have had a clue, like, yeah, they got this thing going on. They probably had their own different words for it. Captivity trade. And this maybe was about to happen to us. But you're not simply sold, not in Ouida, and not in southern Ghana either, and not in Badagry. You're not just sold. You are, what is now Ghana, using terms people understand. You are first taken through a ritual at a place in Ouida called Zoma. Zoma means the place where the fire does not burn. And it connotates the absence of life. And you're marched around a tree if you're a man 9 times. And you marched around a tree if you're a woman 7 times. Right? Now, imagine this. This is not only documented from the European side. Matter of fact, most of what we're saying now is from the African side. They will tell you this when you go to Benin. They didn't get this from European sources. They know this because this is their history. So you're marched. And during these marchings around the trees, you are, there's a ritual done, right? Various rituals. And the rituals, they did it in what is now southern Ghana. They did it in Benin, Ouida in particular, what we're talking about. They did it in Badagry, certain parts of Cameroon and Congo. They did it. There was a common thing. And the ritual was for you to forget your history. Forget that this happened. So when you go to the ancestral realm, when you pass away, and eventually make it to the ancestral realm, you do not come back and hunt them. Now, what that tells you right there. That old adage of Africans didn't know what was happening. They didn't know what they were doing. That's a lie, because they had designed rituals that were governed by high-ranking priests that let you know they know what they were doing. Because they knew it was, first of all, it was against African policies to sell a war captive. Now, let's be clear about the war captive thing. Not all of them were war captives. Most of them weren't. We're talking about 125 million people, African people, sold into captivity over 400 years. Most of them were not war captives. They were raided. Their villages were raided. Call that a war if you want to, but this village wasn't at war with these people that came and got them. Came and took them, rather. So the ritual in Ouida was governed, presided over by the Hunan. Now the Hunan is this guy. He's in Ouida, according to Dahomey structure. Dahomey, Abomey being its capital, Ouida being its captive port outlet. The Hunan was the priest of all of the divinities. It's like the Araba of Ile Ife. The Araba of a particular area in Yoruba land is not just Ile Ife, because they have various Araba. The Araba is over all shrines, all the shrines. Of course, the Arba is, but the Araba on a functional spiritual level, every day, is considered the one that's over all the shrines of a particular area. The Hunan is like that in Ouida. This is the guy that you may see on videos and pictures. He wears this European style top hat, but it's decorated in like applique, which is like African motif, like we was just checking out time. So it's a top hat with like some cloth over it, and then it has some applique on it with African images and whatnot. But it's a European hat. That lets you know something right there. That was a symbol. That's to this day, that's a symbol of authority for the Hunan, wearing a European hat. But anyway, the ritual at Zoma, the place in Ouida where they did this and where that tree is to this day, was presided over, governed by him. He was the watch eye for that. Go figure. Once again, there's nothing wrong with our traditions. We're talking about people and how they misuse the tradition, even up until this day. So, we want to go ahead and get really to the meat of what we're doing. So, imagine you go through that trauma, and then you're sold into captivity. You may work on a palm oil plantation like our ancestor Sakbaju did in Ouida. He worked on a palm oil plantation for 3 months in Ouida, was forced to work on the plantation, and before he was sold into captivity to Mobile, Alabama in 1823. So you go through that trauma, you're sold to those places we mentioned, Louisiana, sugarcane plantation, the cotton plantations, and whatnot, and tobacco. Now here's the the meat of really where we're going with this. Imagine now you are working in the tobacco field, the cane field, right? That cane that you're working, those cane fields that you're working in Brazil, in Louisiana, in Haiti, is going to be used to make a rum, a third-rate rum, by the way, because it was a lot of the rum that was taken to Africa. It was made off of like the runoff, so to speak. It was third rate, it wasn't even second rate. They couldn't sell it to Portugal, right? So they was like, wait, let's see if these Africans are taking, these African kings and chiefs who's selling their people anyway. So imagine you working that cane field. That cane is used to make rum, the same rum that was sold to the chief, to the house Negroes, king, queen, whoever, that had you hunted down and put into captivity. That same rum you're now forced to make. You were bought with that rum. Now you have to make not make the rum, but work in the fields. Let's take it to the gold mines. Many Africans in Brazil, Mexico, whatever, they were forced to work in gold mines. Now, with all the gold that Africans had, this lets you know Nawon Kuvo is real. This gold was being mined, and gold dust was traded in Africa. The Africans act like they forgot how to do gold dust. The sellout people that were doing this. This gold dust was traded in Africa for human beings. So you might have been bought with that same gold dust that you are mining. Tobacco fields. North Carolina, Louisiana, Brazil, other places. You're working tobacco. You were bought with tobacco. You were forced, when you forced into captivity, you were forced to work a tobacco plantation. That tobacco in turn, third-rate tobacco, 97 pounds per bundle, they say, on average. 5 of those can get an African human being put on a captivity ship. You're forced to produce the very tobacco, the very cane, the very cotton that was used to put you into captivity. Meaning with the cotton, the southern United States of America had an cotton industry with England. Of course, England, big major players in the captivity trade. So they would take some of that cotton, as if the Africans act like they forgot how, they've been wearing clothes before Europeans. And they would take some of that cotton, and guess what? In that bundle of sugar cane, tobacco, not sugar cane, but the rum itself, third-rate rum, tobacco, which had to be treated with molasses because it was so thin and sorry, they had to treat it with molasses to keep it from rotting, breaking up. There was also some cotton that these people were sold for, then were forced to work these fields so it could go into a continual cycle. this reminds us that, a lot of African people, and we're talking about the people that claim to be conscious and woke and all these different terms they use. We don't know what it'll be next week. But they're worried about the wrong thing. In order to properly heal, you must acknowledge the truth. These are facts. These Negroes in Benin, what is now Benin, what is now Nigeria, now Ghana, now Togo, now Cameroon, now Senegal, they were the ones that were pretty much in full control of the captivity trade. The Europeans got to the point where they was like, well, forget the captivity part, let's get the land. And that's when the Berlin Conference came in the later 1880s. They were like, all right, on to another phase that's going to be more lucrative. That one there is kind of tiring. Ships back and forth. So let's take this land. Let's just get this over with. Take the land. We ain't got to worry about that no more. No ships, because we'll enslave them in their minds, colonially and whatnot, and in their spirit, Christianity and Islam, Judaism, right here on their own land. Let's try that. Let's knock out a lot of this other stuff we're doing. And that's what they did. And what's interesting, continental Africans to this day, from Nigeria, Ghana, whatever, they celebrate Nigerian independence. Benin, people from Benin celebrate Benin independence. And guess what? All of these days are days that Europeans said, all right, we through with you. You're free now. You're not a colony of us anymore. It was Europeans said this. Now, one of those countries got their independence from self-revolution, from a direct sovereignty. The Europeans were tired of trying to deal with their colonies because it wasn't quite working out the way they thought it was going to work out. It was working out for them, early 1900s, stuff like that. But then it's like, all right, on to another. We done already got them in their minds. Why not go ahead and sign a fake piece of paper, say, hey, you're free. And Africans from the continent celebrate the day that Europeans said they were free. Just like black folks in America celebrate Juneteenth, a day that a cracker went to Galveston, Texas and said, hey, guess what, y'all free. How you expect to be taken serious? But once again, this video is to commemorate our ancestors. And we're doing that in this video by telling the truth and informing those that really want to know. Imagine you being sold into captivity for an item that you end up being forced to toil for, to physically slave for, and that being sent, and some more people end up next to you on that field that you didn't know before that came in on that next shipment. Almost sound like the dope game. Sounds very much like the dope game. Imagine that. Imagine that pain. Now, and here's what we want to leave you with. Imagine you actually finding that out. Imagine the moment when you find that out. That probably led to, not that our people didn't want to rebel anyway, because they was going to do that anyway, but that probably led to more rebellions than we think. Like, wait a minute. Oh, this guy, this so-called king sold me for this very product? Or you finding out that this product is going to Africa? Why is that going to Africa? Sadly, there was those that got their freedom, mainly from Brazil, went back to Benin and other parts of Africa, got their freedom, and guess what they became when they went to West Africa? So-called slave traders. We call this the age of Uga-Azi. Each of these ages lasts 2160 years. This one started in the Gregorian year of 79 CE. The more we progress in the age, the worse things get. So we see it with the mentality. We see this thing with the Popeyes chicken. This is not coincidence that black people are fighting each other and fighting Popeyes personnel about this chicken. They're making videos about this chicken sandwich and don't think nothing of it. Making rap videos at the Popeyes about this chicken sandwich. Gosh. Uga-Azi, the age of utter destruction and degeneracy, the fourth of the four ages. And they go in a cycle. This is where we at. So, what better time than to commemorate? On the Ganlodo calendar, this weekend officially was the direct commemoration. But during this time, we should commemorate. We've had the birthday of Nana Kwaku Boateng. Most of y'all know him as Marcus Garvey. We had the Haitian uprising revolution. Nat Turner's revolution. A lot of things during this time period been like every other day. This is a particular time for the revolutionary spirit of African ancestors. So during this time, we should really call upon the revolutionary, highly exalted ancestors. You know, not just the known names, Martin Delany, Marcus Garvey, Ibara Torun, both of them, but to those revolutionary ancestors in your family, great-grandmama, mama, grandmother, grandfather, great-grandfather, father, that carried that spirit and that did those things in their own way in this time frame. Because of the Nawon Kuval commemoration, these spirits will continually be not only uplifted, but healed. Now, this is different from at the beginning of our year. Our year starts in March 20th of the Gregorian year, which that is Kulita the first for us. That is Ancestor Month for us, but that's a different kind of thing. In this period, we're marking, commemorating the pain, that the crazy events that brought us here. And we're trying to do that which we need to do to elevate those spirits, remove that pain from them, so that they may be able to properly reincarnate. Or if they don't reincarnate, just, be peaceful in that other realm we call Sekwe. Or Kulita Hotome, the monarchy of the ancestors. So, once again, Ekaabo Kilombo, EKAABO KILOMBO restorationhealing.com. That's our publications. And our monarchy is GANLODO, kingdom at, we'll think about the email address, GANLODO kingdom.com. Anybody want to add to this discussion, ask further questions, feel free to contact us. If you're not talking about this subject, do not email us. We're in the business of nation building. We don't have a lot of time to waste. Odigba.